Well, the Rockies had themselves a heck of a week this week. And I got to say, it felt like America was rooting for the Colorado Rockies to sweep the Marlins. Have the Rockies become the lovable losers of Major League Baseball? We talk about that and a heck of a lot more coming up next on the DNVR Rockies Podcast. Welcome in, everyone, to the DNVR Rockies Podcast, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code DNVR365, place a bet for $5, get $150 back in bonus bets. We have an incredible show lined up for you guys today because we actually, and it might even be the first time this entire season that this has happened. You might have to check me on that, but we actually have a fully positive show to talk about here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. I know it's rare. And I know a lot of you in the chat enjoy talking about the negative. I understand the Rockies are still one of the worst teams in baseball. All of that is still understood. But today, for just one day at least out of this season, we get to talk good things about the Colorado Rockies. Shout out to Felix in the chat already. Rockies Nation, what is up? We're going to have Hank joining the show here in a moment. Spencer is off doing golf things because he is a pro golfer, and that is what pro golfers do. They do golf things. So Spence is out today, and Hank's going to be jumping in. Hank is doing Broncos, then Rockies, then back to Broncos. So if you are in the Broncos world, be sure to jump over to our DNVR Broncos podcast. They're double dipping today, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. But look, we got a lot to talk about today. Rockies and America rooting for the Colorado Rockies. Have the Rockies become America's team? And I also want to talk about Ryan Ritter. I have it on good authority that Ryan Ritter may be making his debut in the big leagues here coming up this weekend. So we got to talk about Ryan Ritter. We're going to talk about this Mets series. Should the Rockies sign another veteran? There is a guy in mind that I have that I think the Rockies should take a chance on that actually is a vet. And I got to say, it kind of goes against everything that I've been saying for a long time, but I'll give you my take on that as the show gets going. And we also have to react to the White Sox selling their team to another Ishbia brother. So Hank, welcome into the show. Come on in. Interrupt this entire broadcast.
Yep.
As you do. Welcome. How's it going?
Welcome to you as well. Things are going great. This is so I did Broncos show at 11, this at 12, and then we have a double header Broncos day because last night got rained out. So we got another at 1:15.
Oh, I alerted the fans to your grind that you're going through, man.
It's a serious grind.
It is a grind. It is a grind. There's
no
nothing
joke.
better. I mean, I will say it's rare because it's off season for the Broncos, so you guys usually kind of wind down. But because the UC Healthy Swings tournament or home run derby was canceled yesterday, you had to kind of wind things back down. So double dipping today, but lots of baseball to talk about. And I was just posing the question because
I love when you post questions.
I do. I pose questions a lot. We've been talking about this over the last few weeks about the Rockies being a really bad team. All of baseball knows it.
Yep.
The national baseball world is talking about how bad the Rockies have been. And for the first time this entire season, the Rockies go out, and not only do they win a series, not only do they look good as a team, but they get the sweep against the Marlins. And I got to say, it felt like everyone in baseball that was not a Marlins fan, which there aren't a lot of Marlins fans out there, but every other fan in baseball was rooting for the Colorado Rockies. Did you get that feeling?
I think so. Yeah.
Have we become the lovable losers of Major League Baseball?
The weird thing is, it feels like that is the case everywhere except for here in Denver. Because here in Denver, it's just you walk around the office and it's like, oh, I just want them to get the record. I personally hate that. Like, I hate the fact that 70 years from now, there's going to be some terrible team that has a terrible first 50 games, and it's going to be like, here are the three other teams that
the
have been
2025 Rockies.
It's like, and this is on the graphic forever. I think a lot of these people around this office are a little short-sighted about that. But I do think nationally there is an appeal, and we were talking about it last time I was on. The Rockies were playing better. Like a lot of those 5-run losses had turned into 1-run losses.
And there are stats to back it up. The Rockies' run differential is, I think, almost 2 runs better, improved, with Warren Schaeffer as the manager than Bud Black. Granted,
like per game?
Per game, yeah.
Which 2 runs per game
like
is
run
crazy.
Differential, yeah. So I think most of that is they're giving up less runs. They're not scoring a lot of runs still, but they're giving up significantly less runs. Again, you're losing games to the Cubs, 4-3, that type of thing. So like that's kind of the difference. But shout out to John in the chat. First Rockies show. You came in on a good note because we actually have good stuff to talk about. I have a theory on why I think the Rockies have become the lovable losers of Major League Baseball. First off, everyone in baseball collectively has sympathy for teams that have bad ownership. Right? You look at the White Sox, the A's, insert here, the Marlins even, and we all can say, I am not an A's fan, but I feel immense sorrow for A's fans having gone through what they've gone through with John Fisher and how that whole thing has transpired. And so you feel bad for them. So when you get a moment when they're not playing your team where you say, I get to root for this team to kind of shove it in a way that they don't normally do, Major League Baseball kind of collectively puts their arms around those teams and says, we're here for you. And I think that's what happened. I think Major League Baseball sees how bad this ownership group is and the systems that the Rockies front office have put in place and all of this kind of stuff and says, you know what? We feel bad for the Colorado Rockies, so we're going to root for them because look at what they're doing. They just got a sweep and they're now 12-50.
Yeah, well, I think nobody hates the Rockies. Like there might be some people who want to see the record. Those people will exist just because it's a fun thing to be able to talk about and see and whatever else. But for example, the Mets are here for the next 3 days.
Juan Soto,
so many guys who would be the best Rocky, but that's not the topic of today's show. There are going to be a lot of Phillies fans who are cheering hard for the Rockies because they're a game and a half back.
Oh yeah.
And so you at the very least, there are other opposing fan bases when you play all these teams. They're like, hey, maybe the Rockies get them. Yeah. Or they're just the people who hate the Mets, which those people exist.
Yankees
Nobody hates the Rockies, but everybody gets to make fun of the Mets for losing to the Rockies if it happens.
Yeah.
So that you just have some of these weird things you never think about in sports because typically teams are playing for reasons other than, let's not be the worst team ever.
True.
But
did you see, by the way,
things.
Speaking of that, did you see ESPN put together their draft board, or not draft board, their trade board for the Rockies and all of the objectives for each team? And the Rockies' objective was avoid being the worst team ever.
Yep.
That was tough. The Rockies did go on to sweep the Marlins immediately following that. Did. So, they're...
Take that, Scotty Scheffler.
Scott Scheffler.
Yeah,
exactly.
How many wins do you have since Sunday?
Yeah.
Since
to be fair, there have been no PGA tournaments since that, but we're not going to... We won't point too hard at that. It's funny because you talk about people in this office and just quickly, Felix, we are going to talk about Warren and his situation with the Rockies later in the show. So pause on that for a moment. But you talk about people in this office who have gone out there with us in meetings. I hear it all the time when I do our Rockies meetings where our management really wants to embrace the how low can we go? Because look, they're casual Rockies fans. We're diehard Rockies fans. There is a difference. There is a difference. And so the diehard fans are like, we want to see improvement. The casual Rockies fans are like, we want to see how far.
Set the record.
Yeah.
How maybe they'll sell the team. And it's like, I don't know.
But, and I think this goes in line with, this is funny because Caitlin throws this out. The Rockies need to be careful. If they keep winning like this, it's straight shot to the World Series. There is a world where if the Rockies aren't going to go to the playoffs realistically. No. You have to win out. Yeah. I mean, you have to win 100 games from now to even be a 500 team. So the Rockies aren't going anywhere, no matter how much of a run they go on. But is there a world in which we kind of are living in this ideal good to bad ratio right now where, yes, the team is still going to be historically bad, but just for us diehards, us sickos, as we like to call them, we need to have a series win every once in a while that saves our sanity, right? We're not going anywhere. The team still needs to get completely overhauled in the offseason. But I need some sanity here, right? I need a series win. I need a sweep every once in a while to get the blood flowing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, the Rockies are not a good baseball team right now, Like that should not be the takeaway from one series sweep or the fact that like they're losing by 1 instead of 5. Like it's a small step in the right direction, but you're still very, very bad. I still think though that it is possible that they push for 500 the rest of the way. Not like for their entire season record, but you start by counting the Marlins
500
series
starting now.
And then in the final 100 games or whatever, they're 45 and 55 or something like that.
Heavily disagree with you, but
you don't think it's possible at all?
I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a world.
I agree with Landon. The team is slowly getting better. And again, there are stats that back that up. The Rockies have a slightly better run differential with Warren Schaeffer at the helm than they do with Bud Black at the helm. We're going to talk about that later in the show. Like there are metrics that are showing the Rockies. I don't know if they're getting better or if they're just kind of settling into the season a little bit more.
Well, even just the raw numbers show it's the best pitching staff they've had in like 3 seasons.
It is significantly better. They are still at the very bottom of Major League Baseball, but they are better. But they are better.
They're dead last still, but not by as much.
But they're not as bad. They're not as bad. But there is this idea, that they're getting better, but at the same time, you're still losing games. And that's the issue. Like before, the Cubs series, again, I've said this over and over on the show. If the Rockies had put up 4+ runs every single game in the Cubs series, they sweep the Cubs, one of the best teams in baseball, yet they lost all 3 of those games because their offense is not there. Yep. So they're taking steps in the right direction, but let's not get things twisted. The Rockies are still historically bad. Yeah. And I do think the Mets series is going to, unfortunately, kind of put us back in our place. I just hope that things continue to improve in little ways. That's where I'm at, where I'm like, hey, maybe we're not going to go sweep the Mets, right? Like being realistic. Sorry to rain on all of our parades. I love a series sweep just like the rest of us. But realistically, the Rockies are probably going to go back to kind of where they were with this Mets series. They've got some tough opponents coming up. And I just see reality kind of playing its course a little bit again.
Totally. I mean, the Mets just had the series against the Dodgers. And I watched most of that just out of curiosity and because
it's the Dodgers.
Well, actually, here's a fun thing that happened. So they finished the series against the Marlins Wednesday morning. Wednesday night around 7 o'clock, me and Lexi just we ate dinner, we're sitting on the couch, can find something to watch. And she said, I wish the Rockies played tonight.
Oh.
And I was oh my goodness. Like, we got her. Like, this is
the wives and girlfriends are
exactly.
starting to turn over.
Wish we had a Rockies game to watch right now.
I haven't gotten that from Marissa yet, man. Marissa is not.
I don't know I'm getting it ever again.
When the Rockies game is on, Marissa brings out the Kindle and she's locked into some romance book that she's up to date on. But maybe we'll get there.
Last couple nights, no Rockies on TV. It meant I was watching some of the Mets and Dodgers, and that series, you watch it and just the different feelings you have. Like at one point, Max Muncy hits a home run to tie things up in the bottom of the 9th, leading off the bottom of the 9th inning. And you see things like that happen that you're just like, that doesn't happen for the Rockies.
No, it doesn't.
Or like the Dodgers again last night, where it's like they score 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead. And
did you see the Diamondbacks put up 7 runs in the 9th inning?
No, I missed that.
That was crazy.
Well, I did have, remember the yes hitter.
Yes, that was good. I learned what that was. I didn't actually know what a yes hitter was.
Incredible. They gave up 10 runs before getting an out.
yeah, that was news to me.
Like the
that was news to me.
Is he going to hit? Yes. I had the under in that game.
Oh, wow.
Under 9.
Unfortunate.
10 before the first out.
Jeez.
Painful. But I mean, you watch some of these other baseball games, or again, you watch the Mets play the Dodgers, and it's just... There's a different level.
There is a different level. The reality is there. And I just... The Rockies... And Warren has said this over and over. The clutch hit has evaded us. I mean, I actually think Buddy has said that when he was still the manager. The clutch hit for the Rockies has constantly evaded them. Remember the Dodgers series. The Rockies had a chance to win one of the games against the Dodgers. Chris Bryant comes up. You got runners on 2nd and 3rd. And Chris smokes one to the outfield and it gets caught, right? That's just the reality that the Rockies live in. And it's not all luck. It's just the Rockies are a bad team that just... unfortunately doesn't have luck on their side.
Exactly. And I think that part is important because, again, it's not all luck, but they have been unlucky. Like you can't be the worst team in 150 years without a couple of fluky bad luck plays.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the reason. Maybe that's the difference between they're at 10 wins right now.
12. They're at 12,
of course.
dude.
We were excited for 10.
Get on track, 12. Man. Catch up.
They haven't played a baseball game in 48 hours, and so I get a little bit
How
lost.
nice was it that we got to end on a win, though? Like they swept, and we had a day off. We
if
got
not for the sweep, I'm not getting the... I wish the Rockies were playing tonight. That would not have happened.
No, not at all.
Maybe with reasonable luck instead of bad luck, they're at like 15 or 16 instead of 12. Like, they have been unlucky. And the combination of they're playing just a little bit better. Again, every time I say that, I want to be clear. They're still bad, but playing a little bit better.
Yeah.
And if they were to get a little bit of luck, like that's the world in which you go and say, I'm not doing the math. 100 games left. Maybe you get 40 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, to wrap up our whole conversation on are the Rockies the lovable losers of Major League Baseball? I do also think the Rockies have some likable players. There's not anyone on the Rockies that I'm like, you are severely unlikable. You can make the argument there are some unlikable players on the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Mets even. But the Rockies are they seem like a likable group of people. So I think Major League Baseball will, by, like you said, by playing the spoiler, by rooting for, by feeling bad for the ownership situation, all those kind of things, the Rockies have become America's team, the lovable losers of baseball. And I'll take that. I'll take that for Rockies fans.
And I'll just throw a name out there. Kike Hernandez rubs me the wrong way. It's nothing personal, but just something about the way he wears those glasses. I don't. It rubs me the wrong way.
Not a big Kike Hernandez fan. I get it. Will Smith is that guy for me on the Dodgers, and he does nothing wrong. He just pisses me off. Also, the fact that he gets more credit than Hunter Goodman at catcher, and Hunter Goodman's stats are so much better. Like, come on, what are we talking about? Hunter Goodman's the best offensive catcher in baseball right now.
Cut down a couple more base runners, I'd be feeling just a little bit better. But hey, at the very least, incredible DH, and we'll get the catcher stuff going. He'll block a couple balls back there.
Well, we got to answer some questions in the chat here coming up after the break. Also, got to talk about our boy Warren Schaeffer. Is he the long-term future plan for the Colorado Rockies? And are we going to see a new face in a Colorado Rockies uniform? That's coming up next. All right, better start researching. What's your bets going to be? Because this is our Bet365 segment here on the show. Of course, our incredible friends over at Bet365. At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Now, normally, we are an anti-Rockies parlay group here on the show, but the Rockies are coming off 3 consecutive wins. They do have some momentum. Are you feeling like you're going to be going against the Rockies in your Bet365 bets, or are you going back into an anti-Rockies bet world here?
That's a great question.
It is a tough one.
I'll start with this. So they were 3-0 after 8-game losing streaks.
If they had 8 losses, we'd be betting for the Rockies all
and so
the
that's why I bet on them to win the first game of the Marlins series. And so I hit that.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, they did it. I'm going to do it again. And they did again. And so I was like, oh, they did. I'm going to do it again. So I went 3-0. And there's a part of me that wants to say, hey, Rockies, I'm not going to say you earned my trust, but I owe you this. I owe you a little bit of belief here. Also, I think I'm going to the game tonight. Unfortunately, our guy Antonio Senzatello's pitching, and I'm not the most optimistic, so I think I'm going anti-Rockies.
Anti-Rockies tonight.
I think I know.
Senza,
but I'm not sold.
Senza is a bat magnet, so maybe bet accordingly. But you never know. The momentum of the bats could roll over a little bit.
Yes,
you never
hitter
know.
in play.
Yes, hitter is in play anytime Senza's out there. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, folks, it is summer, and summer is synonymous with Volo here in Denver. Volo is Denver's most popular sports league. It's an adult social sports league, and look, we all know how hard it is to make friends at this age. You know, social media, we're not seeing people face to face as much, and it's hard. Even when you do meet someone face to face, you got to have a good place where you can actually meet people, your age, your style, and Volo is the perfect opportunity for that. You don't even have to be athletic. You can just enjoy being around cool people, have a good time. They've got different sports like soccer, volleyball, pickleball, kickball, basketball, cornhole, many more. My personal favorite, beer in hand kickball, is electric. Meet new people, make friends, and be social. You can sign up as a free agent, small group, or full team. All ability levels and backgrounds are welcome to join. Use code DNVR10 for $10 off any Volo league. All right, back here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, Christian Saez, Hank filling in for our pro golfer, Spence, who's out golfing away with our CHGO crew. We are going to talk about this later in the show, but Spencer is with our friends over at CHGO, Cubs, White Sox, all of them doing a golf tournament. And he texted me yesterday because I don't know if you saw that the White Sox sold their team, or at least they started the process of selling their team. And he texted me because CHGO White Sox was scrambling to get an emergency pod organized. And he's like, man, just seeing CHGO scrambling right now to get this emergency pod up and running because their team is being sold, he's like, is making me so sad about the Colorado Rockies.
Exactly.
Like, I get it, man. That is tough. That is tough.
And there's a piece of it where you're like, okay, it is possible. Like, White Sox did it, Rockies could do it too. There's also part of me that thinks like, that was one of the groups interested in buying a baseball team, and now they're not buying them.
I still have faith that if the Rockies, and to be clear, my stance on this is that the Rockies are not going to be selling the team anytime soon because Monfort is just going to pass it down to his sons. But if they were to sell the team, that one of the local ownership groups, the Penners, the Cronkies, would step up and add the Rockies into their portfolio just from a real estate standpoint. But I don't want to get too much into that. We are going to talk about that later in the show. I want to answer some questions specifically about Warren Schaeffer. Do we think Warren Schaeffer is a good long-term solution? I think Landon was the one who brought it up. Do we think Warren Schaeffer is the guy long-term for the Rockies? I got to say, as of now, yes. And there have been multiple players that I've talked to and that have also gone on record that have been vocal about saying that Warren Schaeffer is a good voice for the Colorado Rockies.
Had a big story.
Gomber went out yesterday. Granted, I didn't really love him throwing Bud Black under the bus. I am of the belief that this is not Bud Black's fault, where the Rockies are right now. But this is the quote from Austin Gomber. He said, "The start of this year was tough. We were, if we're being honest about it, we weren't very competitive. Since Warren has taken over, we're pretty much in every game, but it's not going our way. It's easier to keep that attitude positive. I know we're competing every night. At the beginning of the year, that wasn't the case." So Gomber essentially is saying, look, things still aren't great. As I had said earlier, they're not getting that extra push, that game-winning hit. They're not getting that over the hump. But we are more competitive, and we feel this drive and desire to be more competitive with Warren Schaeffer at the helm. I think the more players speak up like that, that is going to work wonders when the offseason comes around and we start to have the conversations, and I don't think it'll take that long, of is Warren Schaeffer the man for the job? I think he is, and I think ownership is seeing that. I think he's cheap. I think he's very little risk, and I think the players respect him. So why not?
Yeah. No, I have no reason to say no to that question.
Yeah.
I think that he's young, which is good. I think that it could be valuable to have been with the team through this point. I could also see fresh eyes being a good idea, but I could see the case that you want somebody who's kind of seen this and has started this turnaround, especially if things do turn around even just a little bit. And I think that there's an appeal to me in bringing in somebody who we know can do the job. You know, whatever veteran manager is on the market who you bring in, similar to when they brought Buddy in, a guy who had a bunch of experience, somebody you knew was a good manager who belonged in that role
to help him.
Totally. I also wonder if you go that route, though, if you don't see some of the more aggressive things that Warren Schaeffer is willing to try. You know, the substitutions. When you watch like the Tigers play baseball and you see like, hey, we're going to be quick to bring in the pinch hitter, the pinch runner, all this sort of stuff. We got these versatile players who do all these sorts of things. I kind of wonder if that's the path for the Rockies out of this, is to say, we're going to run a lot. We're going to focus on getting the right guys on the field in the right situations and make a bunch of subs. And I think Warren Schaeffer might be a guy who's willing to do some of that. And because of that, that could be a tiebreaker to me between him and some, old man veteran manager who you trust to come in and kind of know what he's doing.
Yeah. And the Rockies love Warren. He's a homegrown kid.
Totally.
He's spent his entire career in the minor leagues here in Colorado, and he's familiar with the systems. He's got a lot of energy. You talk about the youth movement. He's got to be one of the youngest coaches in Major League Baseball. Actually, he might be the youngest.
Old. He might be.
I don't know officially if he is or not, but he's got to be up there as one of the youngest coaches in Major League Baseball. So yeah, I think to answer your guys' question, Warren Schaeffer absolutely should be the long-term manager. Also, keep in mind, doesn't matter that much, right? It helps when you have a good manager that the players respect.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the issues that remain with the Colorado Rockies. They need a lot more depth and trade pieces and all this kind of stuff. Now, I did think it was interesting. Burge brings up a point in the chat. So we have another potential all-star catcher in Hunter Goodman. Now would be a great opportunity to sell high, trade him for prospects. I get where you're going with that, Burge, and I don't fully disagree with you, but I am going to push a little bit the opposite direction. I do think, despite the Rockies being in one of the worst positions they've ever been in their franchise and also in the history of baseball, to be honest, there are certain guys that do kind of fit within that rebuild mold that you need to kind of take a bet on long-term for your team. And to me, Hunter Goodman is in that. He fits that mold because he's so young and he is one of, if not your best player right now on the team. And he still has room to grow, especially defensively. He seems like a guy that if I ask the question, if the Rockies, let's just be very optimistic and say that in 3 years, the Rockies can somehow find a way to be competitive, and that is very optimistic. But let's just say, hypothetically, the Rockies are in a competitive window in 3 years. Hunter Goodman could still be a part of that.
Yes.
There are other players on this Rockies lineup that I don't know if they would be a part of that, even though they're kind of in that window. And the first name that pops to mind right now is Brenton Doyle. Brenton Doyle is, although he's struggling right now, but on paper could be a very good player for you the next couple years. But I think in the next 3 or 4 years, we might start to see him decline just age-wise. He's already, up there age-wise from one of the younger players' perspectives. That's why I look at a guy like Brenton Doyle and say, put him, get whatever value you can from him, put him on a good team and get a couple younger players, prospects, bats specifically, that can build you some depth. I don't know if I'd be willing to part with Hunter just yet.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. It's always a gamble. I think I really like Hunter. I want Hunter to be a Rocky for a long time. I think there's a chance that he's going to be a good catcher for the Rockies for a long time. I also have a little bit of fear that we've seen this from Rockies before who have a really good year, and you start looking at them and saying, hey, this is going to be like the future of the franchise or a long-term starter. And next thing you know, you show up the next year and bat 190 and you're just like, well, that stinks.
Yeah.
Nolan Jones comes to mind. Brenton in some ways comes to mind. He had the breakout year last year after being good before that, of course, but then this year has the down year, and there's all the off-field stuff that comes along with that. And it just feels like there's a long list of those guys who it turns out that the one really productive year was a little bit fluky, and selling at a high point might have made more sense. I still lean toward keeping Hunter just because I think that this is sustainable. I think that he is a good baseball player.
His offensive stuff is top notch, man.
I think so.
His defense needs to come around. It'd be nice if he threw a couple guys out every once in a while, but his offense is worth at least keeping him at DH. And Dustin, I know you had mentioned, I think you were responding earlier to Cedric, who said Hunter Goodman leading all catchers in hits, and Dustin said, and home runs. He does not lead in home runs. That is big dumper Cal Raleigh, who leads Major League Baseball in home runs. He might lead all National League catchers in home runs. I could be wrong on that, but I know Cal Raleigh has him beat on all catchers home runs. But yes, he is leading all catchers in hits. I think doubles. His on-base percentage is super high. I mean, Hunter Goodman is the real thing. He's the real deal. I absolutely think he could be an all-star and should be an all-star despite playing for the Rockies. I do, want to have the debate at some point on whether or not he gets the all-star bid or Jake Bird. I know in a perfect world we'd love two Rockies because both of them, I think, are qualified to make the all-star game. But I think realistically, the league is not going to. They're not going to bring two Rockies.
Good players out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players out there. I don't think two Rockies are going to make the cut. But so we're going to have that conversation of is Hunter Goodman or Jake Bird going to be your all-star guy? But for now, Hunter Goodman is the real deal. I think he is an absolute win this year. He has played incredible baseball, and I think the Rockies are happy to have him. He is what you hoped Michael Toglia would be. And I saw
Michael Toglia, another example of one of those guys.
I saw someone bring up Toglia too.
It's like if you traded Toglia last year, it would have been awesome. But at the same time, I never would have done that because I thought he was first baseman forever. And I'm still not out on Big Mike, but it just,
Have we looked at what he's doing in the minors yet? I haven't seen
No,
updated stats on him.
I can pull that up.
Pull that up real quick. But I hope Michael gets back to it. I just worry that his holes in his swings are chronic.
And then the swings is the other piece. Like
it
the
is.
switch hitter aspect is.
Spencer loves him from the right side, and I get it. But it is a gaping hole in that swing, and it feels chronic. And I just haven't seen the adjustments needed to give me the confidence that he's going to change it. Now, we felt the same with Jordan Beck, and Jordan Beck came back and has looked really good since coming back to the major leagues. But I'm hoping Tolia can figure it out.
He is 4 for 13, 3 of the 4 doubles. So 308 average, 846 OPS.
That's fine.
Yep.
It's good enough. Good enough. Does he have more strikeouts?
5 strikeouts. 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, no walks. That's 1 RBI.
The Ks, thank you, Scott, in the chat for bringing that up. The Ks are what kills me with him. Same thing with Veen, and I haven't checked in on Veen very recently either. I've been so focused on Ryan Ritter in the minor leagues. I haven't seen what Veen's been doing. But
interesting. And that's,
yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Well, look, we got to take a break. After the break, though, speaking of Ryan Ritter, I have it on good authority that we are going to be seeing double R's. Ryan Ritter.
No way.
Now, I can't confirm it, but I have it on good authority, that he might be making his debut this weekend. So we're going to talk about that next.
My lovely girlfriend out of town.
You're going to be at every game?
If Ryan Ritter's going to be at the game, I'm going to be at the game.
Locked in, every single one.
Not playing Jersey this time. Not again.
Well, speaking of locked in, if you are a small business looking to get locked in on your hiring process, you got to join up with LinkedIn. LinkedIn makes it easier to find the best candidates for a job. And we know how important it is, just like the Rockies trying to find the best candidates for a future first baseman or for a future pitcher. LinkedIn helps you find the best candidates that help with, I don't know, whatever job you need to be filled, whether it's a receptionist, whether it's a dental hygienist, whether it's second base for the Colorado Rockies. You never know. LinkedIn has you covered. They make sure that you find the right candidates and also that the right candidates find you, because we know how important it is to get the right people for the job. And there's a reason LinkedIn has over 2.5 million small businesses using their platform. Their different algorithms help promote your jobs and get 3 times more qualified applicants in front of you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Rockies. That's linkedin.com/Rockies to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. That's LinkedIn. Also want to give a shout out to First Bank, whether on the road, at home, or somewhere in between. First Bank makes banking easy, convenient, and secure. Their mobile banking app allows you to check balances, pay friends, and manage your money anytime, anywhere. And here's the best part. Open a new First Bank checking account today, and you could earn $300. First Bank is all about helping you stay on track. Their tools make it simple to stay in control of your finances without the hassle. No matter where life takes you, First Bank gives you the freedom to bank how and when it works best for you. So if you're ready for a better banking and a chance to earn a little extra, head to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus to open your account. Bank how you want, when you want with First Bank. Certain restrictions apply and requirements apply. Member FDIC. All right, Ryan Ritter. We've been hearing his name a lot. For good reason. The dude was the PCL Player of the Month. He's hitting a home run pretty much every single time he steps up to the plate. He leads all of minor leagues in extra bases this year. He leads all of minor leagues in, I think it was OPS. I mean, the list goes on. Ryan Ritter has been incredible this year. Now, we all know that Tovar has been dealing with some hip stuff. He had a hip contusion. He left the game a couple days ago, was out yesterday's game or 2 days ago, that last game. We haven't officially gotten word that Tovar is on the official IL, but if Tovar was to go on the 15-day IL, that would open up an infield slot. And I know Thomas Harding, writer for MLB.com, tweeted this, but I had also heard this before he tweeted this from someone else specifically that has connections in the Rockies organization. Ryan Ritter is at the top of the list if Tovar is on the IL. Now, the other part of that is that Ryan Ritter was not in the lineup yesterday, which would have been a travel day for anyone coming back to Colorado. I think all signs point to Ryan Ritter making his debut for the Colorado Rockies, possibly even as early as today.
Again, Lexi's on the flight.
You're locked in.
I'm buying a ticket if he's there.
New Rockies fan Lexi is gone.
I know,
so
which
she's
she
missing
probably
out.
would have gone anyway. But the flexibility in my life this weekend, massive. Not necessarily always a positive way, but just want to throw that in there. I want to see Ryan Ritter so badly. I think he certainly has earned a spot. We've all seen all the stats; they're ridiculous. Like the guy can beat up on any AAA pitcher out there. Which means if he'd had him for the Marlins series, there's a good chance that he would have beat up on those guys.
True.
Mets pitching, maybe a little bit different, but he's certainly earned the opportunity to get a crack at major league pitching. And based on how he's been playing, you would want to do that sooner rather than later. Like, you are so hot. Let's see if we can ride this into the majors and then kind of settle in there. I think the most interesting part to me is kind of the season-long plan. You know, Tovar's your shortstop. He just is. That's your future at the position. You signed him to whatever the 8-year contract. That is a set and forget. He's your shortstop. But he has had the injury issues, and that's why, obviously, for the next 2 weeks, it might make sense to get Ryan Ritter up here. In a world in which he plays well, though, I don't necessarily want him just sitting on the bench. And that's where I think it becomes, to me, the interesting conversation of, okay, he comes up, he plays well. Do you say like third base could be an option, and maybe that's where you move a Ryan McMahon? Could he be your shortstop or second base?
I was going to say that's where I lean, is that
that probably makes the most
Estrada,
sense.
Despite being back and playing okay in the Marlins series, he's fine. He is more expendable to me if it comes to him or Ryan Ritter.
Totally.
And I hope Warren Schaeffer has the, energy to do this, to make that decision. Because that is a tough decision.
It is.
And that's a very anti-Rockies decision, if we're being honest. The Rockies are a team that is known for saying, oh, we have a young guy who's playing well, and we have this veteran who could help us win today. We're going to play the veteran. Yeah. And that is not what they should be doing with this situation, if Ryan Ritter's playing well.
Exactly. And I think it's even tougher maybe at this particular moment, having lived through this past 2-3 weeks, whatever we want to call it, where they are playing a little bit better. Because I think a big reason why they're playing better is that they kind of cut some dead weight. You know, I love Big Mike. He wasn't playing well. You gave him a shot and you had to move on.
Got to reset him.
And I think that if you look across this entire roster, everybody likes to talk about the wins above replacement. It's an easy, kind of the easy advanced stat for people. It's been around for a while.
How good are you at your job?
All of these guys were below replacement level. So what did they do? Brought in some replacements. And all of a sudden you're getting replacement level play from like Orlando Arcia. You're getting replacement level Tyro Estrada. That's more so he was just finally ready. Sam Hilliard, he'll give you that replacement. Like you kind of just bring in these replacements and say, okay, these guys aren't bad. It's pretty easy to go get guys who can just be instead of a 10-50 team, 15-4. And so when you've made these little changes and it's turned you into a functional team, going back to hey, let's throw a young guy out there, I see why that'd be difficult. It's still by far the right decision, though. And even in a world where, let's say, Tyro Estrada or Orlando Arcia winds up, they're 300 hitters this year. If Ryan Ritter is 270 hitter this year, you still play him because that's where you are, even if you felt like with a team this bad, you needed to steady the ship in that way. So I'm right there with you. I think long-term, you probably just say like, hey, he's a second baseman. Maybe it does empower you to make the Ryan McMahon trade, which I know the numbers aren't good, and you would think a good team would say like, we aren't interested in a guy who's hitting sub 200. It
sounds like other teams are, though.
Exactly. And Fangraphs, I think, had a story recently, and I think it was Fangraphs, where they're basically just like looking for positive Rockies stats. There are a lot of ways, like the hard hit ball rate. Ryan McMahon's like 4th in Major League Baseball. It's like Shohei's in front of him, Aaron Judge in front of him. There's some
you got to
things,
dig a little bit on the Rockies,
which is why they thought it'd be fun to write the story. But there are some underlying stats with Ryan McMahon that would say like some of this really is bad luck. Now the strikeouts, that's not bad luck, but there might be a little bit of value there. So I could see the path. What I don't want is
I like that angle though, the third base angle. If you end up moving on from Ryan McMahon and Ryan Ritter has played well, that opens up a spot for him.
And I see 60 arm on the scouting report. So, and I personally have not been like tuned into the Ryan Ritter defense. I don't know what's up there. I'm kind of just assuming that's a jump you could make. But I obviously love him up. And if he comes up, I want to give him as many bats as possible. Maybe it's as simple as Tovar doesn't play much this year because he's hurt.
Yeah.
And so those are the at-bats. But I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
If it happens, again, it hasn't been confirmed yet. If it happens, it's a good decision. The Rockies need to call up Ryan Ritter. If I'm coming to you guys on Monday saying we didn't see Ryan Ritter, I'm scratching my head. Yes. Or it means Tovar's back.
I am once again scratching my head.
For the millionth
got to throw that in there
this year.
Especially when you see things like, oh yeah, who's DHing? Oh, it's Tyler Freeman.
Ritter, Tyler Freeman's
you
been
throw
freaking
Ritter in there. Like
Tyler Freeman's been hitting well though.
Fair,
I give him credit.
Fair, exactly.
I was having this conversation with someone the other day about who did you win the trade against the Nolan Arenado trade? And it's like if you look at what Nolan Arenado, Nolan Jones.
Damn,
we did not win the Nolan Arenado trade by the way.
Didn't lose it by maybe as much as we thought. Still lost it.
We lost. We lost the $50 million part. That you lose that part.
We lost significantly. But hey,
but the Nolan Jones trade, technically we've won that. Tyler Freeman is playing better on paper if you do the side by sides than Nolan Jones is. So whatever. Real quick to answer Felix's question, when will KB return? I've been told he is taking swings off a tee, but is not with the team in operations. I could learn something new today. That was before the road trip, so something could have changed. He's nowhere near returning. And to be completely honest with you, Felix, and we've said this before, I don't think he's ever going to fully play again. He maybe will get in that bat at some point. It sounds like what he's got going on with his back is not going to get better.
Yeah, you can probably cross the when out of that question.
Yeah, I mean, he might. He probably will return. I just don't think it's going to be at the... Like he's going to be playing every day. It might be, hey, he pinch hits today, that kind of thing. But
and you're at a different point right now, just because there aren't a lot of guys.
Yeah, I'm kind of over
on your roster. Definitely. And like a year ago, I was saying like, hey, like get rid of him, get these at bats to somebody else. Which the at bats for sure. The roster spot though, like, I mean. Oh no, you gotta ditch one of these second base, and you gotta ditch one of these. Oh, Sam Hilliard goes back down. It's not like you're necessarily saying like we gotta clear a spot on the 26-man roster. Hopefully we feel that way soon.
Yeah. Real quick, just to send us to break here. John says, "Can I get a quick rundown of what makes the Rockies such a bad org?" Quick is tough. Quick is tough. We are actually working on a graphic, by the way, of a like what went wrong and how did we get here type of thing. Our boy Yaya is putting together a like timeline of all of the decisions that have led us to this point. So we will have that at some point to kind of showcase how we got to this place. But 60,000 foot viewpoint here. What makes the Rockies such a bad organization? They're very stubborn. And what I think it was Jeff Passan said the other day, the Rockies have a disease of complacency. And I've also heard it said that the Rockies operate like a mom and pop, local shop. They're 10 years behind everyone else. They don't invest in their systems, their technology, all of that kind of stuff. They kind of feel like they're making the right decisions even when they're not, and their results aren't showing them good things. So that's pretty much it. There's a lot of levels you can go into with that, but it's tough.
If you want all the details, I've referenced this article a few times because it's so good. Just Google how it all went wrong for the Colorado Rockies from The Athletic.
Good
and
catch.
it's from like 4 years ago. But if you have the New York Times or Athletic subscription.
And it's still true today.
Yeah, they go detail by detail. If you got 30 minutes, it's a whole list of things that they screwed up.
Yeah, it's not great. But like you said, Rockies baseball is on a high right now. And I am going to, after this next break, I am going to maybe throw a hot take out there that might ruffle some feathers, that might ripple the water a little bit. And it's regarding a certain veteran that is now on the free agency market that I think the Rockies could actually go for. And I don't normally advocate for signing veterans. But today I'm going to make the argument that the Rockies should sign a current veteran who's on the market. We get into that after this next break. Well, folks, one of my favorite times of the year is summer. And there's so many good things about summer, but arguably the best part of summer is, in fact, drinking Coors Light. I actually posted a picture the other day when the Rockies, I think it was their second game, when they won the series against the Marlins, of me drinking a Coors, or at least holding a Coors, because that was my beverage of choice to celebrate the miraculous series win that the Rockies got. And I said, look, man, we got 2 fun days in a row of baseball. That deserves a Coors. And I was pleasantly enjoying that Coors. I actually chose to go with Banquet Coors Light. It's all good. Doesn't matter which way you go. It is a good experience. Coors is just such a chill beer, right? You can't go wrong. I'm going to be at Coors Field here over the next 3 days. We are going to be celebrating in a suite on Sunday, by the way. So come hang out with us for that. Drinking some Coors Light at Coors Field. Can't go wrong. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. Also want to give some love to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. And I got a story to share. I went up into the mountains last weekend. I think I actually tweeted about it because I was out of cell service. I was off the grid. It was the last Mets series where the Rockies actually got swept. And I took my Toyota Highlander, again, 250,000 miles up there, drove 3 hours out into the mountains. And I had to drive pretty far off the grid. Like my car was off-roading it. And to be fair, my Toyota Highlander is an incredible car, but it's not like, I don't have it lifted. I don't have any crazy specs. Like, it is just the base level model of the Toyota Highlander from 2007. And it crushed it. I was literally, as I'm driving, going over some of these boulders. I'm like out loud, like, this is like, good job car. I was so pumped about it. It handles all of the off-roading like a pro, whether it's the Highlander, the 4Runner, the RAV4, or you go with the Tundra. Oh my gosh, you cannot go wrong with a Toyota. So if you're going out into the mountains to do some off-roading or just going hiking, right? Going out into some dirt roads, you gotta have a Toyota to make it worth it. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota Eastern Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right. I think you know where I'm going with this veteran thing because you probably saw I tweeted it.
Yes, I did.
Lamonte Wade Jr.
Yep.
I think should be signed by the Colorado Rockies. He was just DFA'd by the San Francisco Giants, and he is a first baseman, 31 years old, career .238 hitter. I don't see why not. You talk about, Big Mike needing to kind of reset right now, and maybe you could make the argument that Big Mike's going to turn things around super quick, and you're not going to need it. But at the moment, you've got Keston Hiura, who I have no distinct issues with. But I'm also not hyped on Keston Hiura. Yep. I think Lamonte Wade Jr., despite his bad numbers, which if you look at Arcia's numbers this year, they've also been bad. I think he could be a good veteran presence at first base to help with that infield that is that is going from a young infield to an old infield very quickly, by the way. But I saw them DFA Lamonte Wade Jr., and I thought, that feels very Rocky. Yeah. That feels like a Rockies move.
Yeah. I mean,
I could see it.
You got Mickey Moniak, you got Orlando Arcia. Like, come on, Lamonte Wade Jr., like, things aren't going well. Sure. Kick the tires.
But I don't think you can only have Ritter or Wade.
I agree. It would be for Hiura.
Because I think, you would get rid of Hiura, or you wouldn't get rid of Kyle Farmer, but you would get rid of Hiura, and Wade would end up being your first baseman. And Ritter, again, this is assuming that Tovar is on the 15-day IL. Ritter would end up getting called up to replace Tovar. So I think you can have it both ways. Now, look, if the Rockies don't go sign a veteran, I'm okay with it because I've been vocal on this show about the Rockies not signing veterans. But I did see that, and I was like, you know what? That feels like a very safe veteran that you can pick up for a year, and I'd feel okay with that. He's very Orlando Arcia to me. Was it you? I think it was Spence, actually, that was kind of okay with the Arcia move.
I liked it.
I think it was Spence, too. Spence was also okay with the Arcia move.
Why not? I mean, what else? It turns out Ryan Ritter might be just good enough that you'd rather have him go there instead of Arcia. But at the same time, you have Estrada, too.
But we don't know that.
I'm not too worried
Ritter
about
yet.
Totally.
I mean, we don't know if he's the guy yet.
Totally.
So there is that.
You don't really have...
Need some depth.
There are no first base prospects knocking on the door.
None.
Maybe Yankees you could try, but there'd be no reason to think
and
that.
Keston Hiura at first base.
Exactly.
Give me an actual first baseman.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at. Is right now it's would you rather have Keston Hiura or would you rather have
Late night Lamont?
It's like, give me Lamont probably.
At least Lamont has a cool nickname.
And I haven't been disappointed in Keston Hiura. You know, like I think he's kind of done what you could have asked of him.
He just doesn't move the needle enough for me, and Lamont moves the needle slightly.
And if there is a world in which, you know, Lamont plays well, in a perfect world, you have Tolia who finishes the year out well in the minors, and maybe Lamont's also playing well, so you move him to the DH spot or move him over, or you just get rid of him if things don't go well. It's just so low risk.
That's what I mean.
Next year, who's more likely to fit into that DH spot? Is it Hiura or is it Lamonte Wade? And I'd say it's probably Lamonte Wade. So
that's the Tyro Estrada deal for me too.
Exactly.
Tyro is not going to be a guy who's with you when you make it to the playoffs one day.
Could he help bridge it?
But is he going to help you get there? Lamonte Wade is 31. Could he be on the team next year at 32? Sure.
Maybe next year you're trying to get to 500 and he's a guy who could help you get there.
He could. He absolutely could. Hey, we got to talk about this before the show ends. The White Sox agree to sell the team to Matt Ishbia's brother. Is it Ryan Ishbia?
Oh, Justin?
Ryan? Yeah. Where did I get Ryan? Who knows?
A lot of Ryans around here.
There are a lot of Ryans.
Did you see
we're getting a Ryan meetup at Coors Field?
Yeah.
Sorry to derail this conversation.
June 20th.
But if your name is Ryan, I don't think I've seen a Ryan in our chat recently. But if your name is Ryan and you happen to be watching, June 20th?
June 20th, I believe.
Is that confirmed? Close enough. Yeah, we'll go with it.
It's confirmed.
Confidence level high. A Ryan meetup at Coors Field, and I had posted as well saying that I hope that means the Rockies can have Ryan Ritter on the team. June 20th. There you go. Ryan Ritter, maybe. Ryan McMahon.
Wow.
Ryan Rollison.
Oh yeah.
We've got a couple Ryans on the team.
Yeah.
Maybe they honor those Ryans. I know RK Ryan Kobe now, known as Konisberg.
Yes.
He's going to be there. Do we have any other Ryans that work for us? I think RK is the only Ryan.
Green Cotter.
Ryan Green. What the hell
Cotter.
And Cotter.
Yeah, we have three. We call them RG, RC, and RK because we have so many Ryans.
Other than those three, there's no others, though.
Part.
Only those three. How did you immediately go there? It's tough.
That is completely on me. So yeah, we're gonna have a full show out at that. Maybe we should make it a Friday rooftop club. I don't know if it's on Friday, but yeah. Anyways, totally derailed this. White Sox selling the team to the Ishbia brother, and we already talked about Spencer getting all excited because he was in CHGO when the team was sold. I've had a couple people reach out to me and say, could this possibly open the door for Monfort, just showing him that, hey, other owners, well, this is what it looks like when another owner signs or sells, and maybe it kind of encourages him to sell the team. First of all, no. Yeah. That's the answer. I don't think Monfort's going to sell, especially just from watching another owner do it. But one of the interesting parts of this whole thing is that the transition period is like 9 years. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
So it's like through 2034 that Ishbia and Reinsdorf, or however you say his name, that they're kind of like passing the torch. But it's supposed to take 9 years before that actually goes down. That's a long freaking time to actually have a team get sold.
Yeah.
Like that, you're talking about my future kids watching that team if I'm a White Sox fan.
Yeah, that is crazy. So the agreement gives Reinsdorf the option to sell the controlling interest, so more than half, as soon as 2029.
But even then, that's crazy. Still 4 years.
Crazy amount of time.
Yeah, that's
after
a college
the
degree.
2034 season, Ishbia will have the option to purchase the controlling interest. So it's up to the current owner in 2029. It's up to, wow, that is ridiculous.
I don't think so, Scott. I don't think there has been at least this long. I know that, look, selling a $1 billion team, even a team like the White Sox, it takes time. It takes money. It takes lawyers, right? Even just selling a company. If we were to sell ALLCITY, it would probably take a year, right?
Yes.
This kind of stuff takes a long time, but 9 years is crazy. Now, I will say, if Reinsdorf kind of comes out and says, you know what? Yes, it's going to take 9 years for you to get vested full interest in, ownership in this team, but I'm going to start allowing you to put your pawns in place earlier. Maybe he says, hey, Ishbia, you can start hiring the people you want to hire. You can start coming and making changes within the next year or two.
Yeah.
I'm just still going to have some control of the finances, let's just say. then maybe you feel better about that. Because look, I don't care who's making the money, who's profiting off this, as long as the hope is that, you get new people in place that make better decisions. That would be the hope when you say, I'm selling a team. If Dick Mumford, again, was to sell the team, you hope that brings in new voices that create change within the organization. So hopefully that can happen before 9 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance a big part of this is just because, according to Forbes, Justin Ishbia is worth about half what his brother is. So he might just literally not have the capital to do this all at once.
Or also, Jerry Reinsdorf is 89. Maybe he wants to live out his life as the owner, but wants to have this plan in place for his kids.
So I was talking to our director of revenue, John Riskin here.
Is that what he does?
Yeah,
interesting.
He manages. He makes sure we're making money.
Okay,
that's what his job is. Yeah, but John, from a business, he was looking at this because he's also a Cubs fan, and from a business perspective, he was like, "Hey, look, the dude's 89. He's almost 90 years old. Anything can happen." And he's like, "And what this does, even though it's a 9-year transition, it gets Ishbia in place in case Reinsdorf says, you know what, I'm over it.
Yep.
It's the team's yours." He's like, anything can happen within this 9-year window.
Yes.
Reinsdorf can have a medical emergency. He can have a health problem.
Yep.
Something can happen that he is no longer able to operate as the owner in the suggested period of time that it's going to take for this transition. And that point, Ishbia now is in line to kind of take over.
Well, and this hopefully avoids something super messy like what happened with the Bolin Trust and the Broncos.
Oh, and the Padres too. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah, you're right. The Broncos are another example. The Padres with, I forgot what his name is. Peter Seidel, I think it was his last name, when he passed away from cancer. And now his widow is fighting with his brother for ownership of the team. Right? Like, that's super messy.
It is.
The Broncos situation was super messy. Scott brings it up as well. So you're right. This at least puts Ishbia in line to say, if something happens, I'm next, right? I'm next in line. I'm on deck. And so, I don't think it really has anything to do with the Rockies, although we'd love to see the Rockies be in the similar position one day. But it is good to see another team kind of go through this and kind of get a taste of what possibilities that could look like if that were to ever happen to the Colorado Rockies. You know a team that needs to be sold, by the way? The Miami Marlins, dude.
Yeah.
Looking at their attendance.
It's so sad.
And I know they're playing the Rockies. And I know the Rockies have a unique situation in Colorado where we get, 30,000 fans for some random day game.
Yep.
I don't know how they make a single cent out there in Miami.
They might not.
The
Rockies lose money.
True.
The Marlins, you would imagine, are.
They're not making money in TV. They're not making money. Kale said this. It has to cost more to keep the air conditioning on.
Literally, it's in Miami. Like, during the game, that park has to be air conditioned. If you're only getting 5,000 fans in there, the actual power bill has to cost more than you're bringing in.
It's insane. I looked at that and I'm like, there's no way that's profitable.
Well, and it's tough even to watch a game on TV there. Like, it's not an aesthetically pleasing place.
I wanted Drew Goodman to go into his golf broadcast. Drew has a luxury golf broadcast. If you've ever heard him do golf, and it's clean. It's a good, and he winds up and delivers it across the middle of the plate, and it's going to be on the outside corner. He's got a good low kind of broadcast, and I wanted to hear him do it. It was just pins. You could hear a pin drop.
But
crickets, that's what I was trying to say.
Even just the colors, like the dome is so awful to watch a game. And I get, you have to play in a dome in Florida. It'd be too hot otherwise.
It was flooding outside.
Yeah. But also, it's tough to watch on TV. It's got to be even worse watching a game in that awful dome. Sitting inside just sounds miserable.
Just not
I don't
fun
know
enough
what the appeal is. No.
And again, Kale, you said this. You either have a good team and a bad stadium, or a bad stadium and a good team. That's...
If you have a bad ballpark and a bad team, people don't come. That's just the reality. You made this point earlier, but look at Oakland for years.
Yeah. I also look at the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks have a good team, give or take. Good team in context. But a bad stadium. And even then, people don't really show up that much, but they still have enough people. But can you imagine if the Diamondbacks were bad? No one would go to games in Arizona. Totally. And can you imagine if Coors Field sucked? No one would go to Rockies games, right? So it is crazy to see what's going on out there. But I do real quick before we wrap up the show, because I know you got to go places. And just for those watching on television at home, here in the next 15 seconds, we are going into overtime or extra innings, as we like to call it here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Head over to thednvr.com to continue the conversation if you are watching on the television networks. But we got to give our predictions for this upcoming series. Rockies are playing the Mets. They go back to playing good teams starting today.
They do.
How do we feel? I saw, I think Landon said Rockies will go 4-2 in this home stretch. That would be huge if true. Rockies Nation, let's go 2 out of 3 and keep building momentum from Felix. Also, love the confidence and the enthusiasm. I don't know if I'm there. Man, I'd like to say the momentum keeps us from getting swept, but I don't quite know if we're going to take the over on wins.
Yeah, because I mean, what you've got Senza pitching today
against Kodai Senga.
Yep. You've got Herman, and then you'd have Palmquist. Maybe not in that order, but those would be the 3 in this series. So you don't have Freeland or Dollander, and those are the 2 guys who I feel just a little bit better about. Palmquist pitching well. I think you're probably losing today. I think you've got a chance in either of the other 2, but the odds of both those pitchers pitching well are probably pretty slim, and even if they do, it's not guaranteed. I'd say you get one of the 3 against the Mets. Are we doing Giants as well?
No, we'll wait on Giants.
Okay,
we'll wait on Giants because you'll be back next Friday to do our Giants recap show.
True.
Look, I'll say this: if the Rockies offense can somehow find a way to put up 5 runs per game, I think they win 2 out of 3. I think their pitching will hold it.
Okay,
but I have limited confidence in the Rockies' ability to put up 5 runs. But if they do, I think the Rockies can get at least 2 out of 3. I like it. It's my prediction.
Okay.
If not, I think they could lose all 3. But we'll see. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Hank, pleasure having you on the show. As always, man, get off to Broncos. Have fun out there. If you guys are interested in Broncos talk, they're going to be doing the DNVR Broncos second half edition coming up right after this.
Top 20 prospects
getting thrown out on the DNVR Broncos pod. But thank you, as always. Hopefully Monday we have a good show with more positive to talk about. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.